早於2012年10月28日，2012榮耀盼望第142篇，又話牧師引用《窮爸爸富爸爸》一書嘅作者羅伯特清崎喺2002年嘅著作《經濟大預言》，談及退休金制度將會因着2次大戰後嬰兒潮出生嘅美國人喺呢幾年到達退休年齡，陸續從各種投資產品取回金錢。除咗美國經濟會因此而崩潰之餘，亦都會令佢哋嘅退休金化為烏有。詳情可以重溫該篇主日信息有關退休金嘅精華短片。此外 ，GoSilver.com 創辦人、投資專家 Michael Maloney 亦都表示，嬰兒潮出生嘅成年人到達退休年齡，加上出生率低，唔單止影響股票市場，亦都會影響房地產市場，甚至會導致經濟崩潰，而崩潰嘅程度甚至過於1929年嘅經濟大蕭條。呢個係前所未有嘅現象，但係卻係經濟循環嘅必經階段。而現時，我哋已經處於崩潰嘅前夕。
This is the demographics of the United States back in the year 1940. And it's broken into 5-year age groups. And what I'm going to show you here is the baby boom and one of the reasons that we're going into this deflationary scenario. And we're also in this swing from individualism to collectivism. This is a pendulum, a cycle that just goes back and forth throughout time. And this is the greatest threat to your well-being and the well-being of the economy and freedom. We're going through a period where this demographic is going to cause some huge problems. So here we are in 1950, and you can see the beginning of that baby boom taking off. 1960, 1970, and this wave. Now, the reason I've got this broken up into these different colors, children are the ultimate consumers. They consume everything, they produce nothing, except a quality of life for their parents, a big reward as far as seeing them grow up and so on. But economically, children are an economic loss. They consume economic energy. What you're seeing here is this wave coming into working age. The green area is sort of a break-even area. That's when people are getting a job, and it might be a minimum wage job or something like that, and might be sharing an apartment with a few other people. And then as you get into the yellow area, you start to become a net positive for society. You're paying income tax, you're producing more than you consume, and then you get into what's called the maximum spending demographic. The maximum spending demographic is ages 45 to 54. And this group lives in the largest houses of their lifetimes. They're driving the most cars of their lifetimes. They're sending their kids off to college. They're spending a lot. Then they become empty nesters. That's the maximum saving demographic. Once the kids are gone off to college, they go, holy moly, we didn't save anything, and we want to retire in 5 years or 10 years. And so they start saving, and then you get to the point where they retire and they become a maximum social burden demographic, I call it, simply because they're liquidating assets. They've got their stocks and their savings, and each year they're going to liquidate some of those to live, and the only driver that in the economic driver is the medical industry. They drive the medical industry. So economically, the maximum social burden group is a net loss for the prosperity of society, the prosperity of an economy. And so I'm going to go back again, and you can see that maximum social burden group almost didn't exist in 1940. And there's a lot of people of that working age and maximum spending age supporting the few people that were of the maximum social burden category. And then we get the baby boom sweeping through, and in the 80s and that stock market boom of the 90s and all the way up to 2000, that yellow area that really drives the economy was growing every year. Now, we have an economy where it's supposed to grow at about 3%, or it's going to stall. We inflate the currency supply at about that rate. But now, after the year 2000, we've got 2010, the peak of the maximum spending demographic. And from now on, it's sort of downhill. Maximum savers, they do help drive the stock market, But look at that maximum social burden category and look at what happens next. So we are going into this time period right now. Now, the reason there's no children on there is they haven't been born yet. But if you look at, when I first presented this a couple of years ago, birth rates have been falling for quite a while now, and they've been falling even at an even greater speed since the crash of '08. And if you look at the data from the Great Depression, birth rates just fell off a cliff in the Great Depression. And so you have less people of the younger age coming into this demographic to support the people that are retiring. They didn't have the pill during the Great Depression. Contraception was something that was not within most people's reach. So here it is automated, and you can see that big wave sweeping through there. And if you could imagine data for the children, it would be at a much lower rate. And if we do have a big economic pullback, you're going to see that really reduce. So we're in, most likely, some very serious trouble here because all of our social programs and the way the economy and the society is set up, everybody's expecting to be able to retire at a certain age and live fairly comfortably off of the rest of us, off of the government.
因此，從呢幾十年嘅出生率變化以及年齡同經濟貢獻嘅關係，已經讓我哋知道經濟嘅循環已經到咗崩潰嘅邊緣。除此之外 ，Michael Maloney 亦都從其他經濟數據同埋圖表解釋現時美國經濟嘅實況，以及點解佢認為而家已經處於經濟嘅寒冬。
This, we've already seen the baby boom demographic, but I just need to show you one thing here. You recall that the maximum spending demographic drives the economy. The maximum social burden puts deflationary pressure on their economy. They sell their stocks, bonds, and real estate to survive, and they don't produce anything. But what I want to point out is that there's about 6 times more people driving the economy here in 1940 than there are putting deflationary pressure on it. And when you watch this wave go through, the drivers are always more until just the last couple of decades here, and now the people putting deflationary pressure on the economy exceed the number of people driving the economy. So if you could chart this out with time on that axis and the energy going into the economy on this axis, the curve would probably look something like this, and I believe that we are right about here, right about now. And now for the next cycle in this big convergence, the stock market cycle. This is the S&P 500 PE ratios. A PE ratio is the price of a stock per share divided by the annual earnings of that company per share. And if you're paying somewhere between 10 to 14 times annual earnings, that's fair value. Anything under 10 is undervalued. 14 to 20 is overvalued, and anything over 20 is bubble territory. And here comes the data. And what is important here is that when the stock market goes into a bubble, without exception, it has to visit undervalued before a new bull market can begin. Except for this time, the biggest bubble in history in the year 2000. And when it popped, we went down to fair value and bounced back up into a bubble. Do you really think that a new bull market can begin from here, that we're not going to visit extreme undervaluations? I don't think so. I think that we have to visit extreme undervaluations before a new solid bull market can begin. And now for probably the biggest factor in this convergence of cycles. This is Nikolai Kondratyev. He's a Russian economist that Lenin commissioned to prove that capitalism wouldn't work. He went away for a couple of years to do his studies and came back with his findings that capitalism was the superior system and would work marvelously well, but it would always suffer from these long wave boom-bust cycles to which he gave the names of seasons of spring, summer, autumn, and winter. We'll come back to this in some other episode and really dig into it. But for now, what you need to know is that the winter is the deflationary season. The last winter was the Great Depression. And they used to call this the 50-year cycle, but lately it's gotten stretched out and takes longer. Now, I believe that it's got to be the length of a human lifetime. And the reason is that the winter is deflationary. And the people that were old enough to be of working age and have young families that lost the house, lost their job, lost the family farm, they become very emotionally scarred, and they become very risk averse and very, very frugal. And in order to make all the same stupid mistakes that we made in the Roaring '20s that led to the Great Depression, that generation has to die off. Well, they have died off, and we have made all the same stupid mistakes. So this is very deflationary, should it happen. And here's the supporting evidence. This is interest rates, and what you see here is that they go right along with the cycle. This is wholesale prices in the U.S., and again, they go right along with the cycle until the point the Federal Reserve decides that what we really need is constant inflation. This is one of the biggest cycles of all. It's hard for people to see, though. This east-west cycle takes about 500 years for the pendulum to swing each direction, and 500 years back. It's innovation and prosperity, swinging from Asia to Europe and North America and back. And in the Dark Ages, China was developing gunpowder. Then China stagnated while we had the Renaissance and Industrial Revolution. So ingenuity and prosperity does flow back and forth, and right now you should be able to feel that the Western economies are stagnating and have sort of stalled, while the growth in the Asian economies over the last 20 years has been mind-boggling. And so this is very deflationary for the West. And here is probably one of the most deflationary cycles of all. This is household debt as a percentage of disposable income. And alarm bells should really be going off when people owe more than their disposable income, anytime this exceeds 100%. But I believe that this is also a cycle, and that if we had data, if we could go back further, it would probably look like this. And what's interesting is that this reflects the seasons of the Kondratiev wave of spring, summer, autumn, winter. Spring, summer, autumn, winter. And we're going into a winter, and that's very deflationary. The next cycle you've seen before, we learned about this in episode 2, but it's the shift in world monetary systems. The classical gold standard, the gold exchange standard, the Bretton Woods system, the US dollar standard, and there's something that's coming next. These usually coincide with major wars, but whatever this next shift is, it's going to be chaotic, and it's probably going to be a little painful. It's not going to be pretty. Right now, we learned in episode 3 how countries are abandoning the US dollar standard at a blazing rate right now. It's developing stress cracks, and it's going to implode. And here's the thing, is that is going to be happening with the convergence of all of these cycles. We have the East-West cycle, we have the baby boom demographic, we have the wealth distribution cycle, household debt as a percentage of disposable income, the stock market cycle, the Kondratiev wave, and the shift in world monetary systems. And the thing about all these cycles is that they have all peaked and they're starting to descend, which is deflationary. Deflation, 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 deflation. And that is all happening at the time when the world monetary system is developing stress cracks, it's about to implode, and it's going to be extremely chaotic. These things are all going to make it even more chaotic. So that's the convergence of cycles, and all of these things are the reason that I am expecting deflation before big inflation or hyperinflation. But just as I said in my book, any deflation is probably going to be short-lived. This is the nightmare scenario for every central banker, and all of the world's central bankers are Keynesians. They believe that they can print their way to prosperity, even though they have proved that you can't time after time. All it does is cause a wealth transfer. When all of the world's central banks start printing their currencies into oblivion simultaneously, what you will see is a wealth transfer where the vast majority becomes very poor and just a few people become very rich. It's horrible for the economy, but Japan is the prime example that it does not work. You can't print your way to prosperity.
喺影片裏面，佢用咗日本為例子， 指出日本政府不斷印鈔，最終其實亦都無法挽救經濟。事實上，日本經歷1990年經濟爆破後，一直受住通縮之苦，被稱為失落嘅10年。至今已經踏入第3個10年，即係經濟爆破後有住超過20年嘅通縮。而日本嘅房地產正正讓我哋知道人口老化、人口減少對房地產價值嘅影響。近幾年，由於日元貶值，香港人好似羊群一樣被說服往日本炒樓，以為日本經歷經濟爆破後，房地產價值低無可低，否極泰來，最終會止跌回升。但係房地產其實亦只係商品，受住供求定理所影響。事實上，日本總人口已經由2008年高峰期嘅1.28億人不斷下降。如其他先進國家一樣，日本出生率約1.46，排名185位，即係每對夫婦生1.46個小朋友。當出生率低於2，即係每對夫婦生少於2名孩子，其實人口就會下降。
按照現時嘅出生率估算，日本人口只要短短35年後，已減少至低於1億人，即下跌25%。有報道稱，到咗2100年，人口將會減半。所以，遑論再建新屋，即使舊屋，亦會隨住人口死亡而空置。事實上，現時日本嘅房屋空置率約為14%。隨住人口減少，到咗2040年，空置率會上升至40%，即係每2間屋就約有1間係空置。呢個已經未計算311核子災難後人們嘅壽數減少、死亡率上升嘅影響。咁嘅境況，樓市又點會向上？當出生率低、房屋需求減少、無人問津嘅時候，售價當然只會越跌越低，而唔會否極泰來。因此，最佳嘅出路又是否正正係賣俾夢想炒樓致富嘅香港人，讓佢哋幫手填一填呢個不斷擴大嘅空置房屋黑洞？甚至作為排他性強嘅民族，日本政府於苦無對策底下，亦要考慮引入移民，填補呢一個空洞。其實各國政府亦認知人口數目以及年齡分佈對國家經濟嘅影響，因此中國最近先至放寬咗實施35年嘅一孩政策。原因中國經歷咗自1980年代嘅經濟改革開放，30多年嘅經濟增長後，年齡老化、出生率低，將會令中國經濟好似美國一樣，因着同一個理由而步入衰退，甚至崩潰。因此需要放寬一孩政策，以長遠咁刺激經濟。呢個再一次證明人口老化對經濟影響嘅理論係所有國家都無法抗拒嘅趨勢。故此，好似1929年全球經濟大蕭條一樣嘅崩潰，已經唔再係會唔會嚟臨，抑或係幾時嚟臨嘅問題，而係當我哋已經踏入經濟寒冬嘅時候，我哋應該點樣自處？作為神家中聰明嘅僕人，定必以智慧行事，唔好成為經濟崩潰中嘅受害者。